Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Coffee with Carl. I am your host, Carl Zellner, managing attorney for Anderson Business Advisors. And today I want to talk a little bit about dealing with title companies. Now, as always, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It lets us know you enjoy and want us to keep making free content. But in working with title companies, we're going to talk about a few different routes you can go and also sort of the best practice in working with title companies to hopefully avoid as many hiccups as you can. Because for whatever reason, lenders, banks, title companies, there always seems to be some stumbling block and it always seems to happen in the 11th hour. All right, title companies. Number one is some of the issues you'll run into as a real estate investor with a tax and asset protection structure is you will run into title companies who are not 100% informed of the local laws or understand your entire structure. So, some common issues that pop up are if you have, say, a Wyoming holding company that owns a local LLC, some title companies will say you're required to foreign file that Wyoming holding company or that parent entity. That's not the case. That's not the law. That's them sort of trying to figure out what you're doing and trying to make it as safe as possible for them by having that entity foreign or file into the state they're used to dealing in. Ultimately, that parent entity does not need to file in the state you're dealing in because you have a local entity in the state that will actually be doing business there. That Wyoming holding company is just something to hold the ownership interest of that local entity, if that makes sense. So that's not necessary, but if you're dealing with a title company who doesn't know that, it can kind of freak them out. I've had numerous calls over the years explaining that and showing local title companies the law in the area on that issue. And most times they're willing to cooperate as long as you sort of haven't burned the bridge. I guess that's the second piece is if a title company is pushing back, be polite. If you're a platinum client, reach out to us, and if there's a simple solution, we'll find it. The us calling your title company and showing them stuff is not usually the simplest solution. Usually, the simplest solution is having the title company you work with and knowing what they will accept without headache, and then us actually forming around that because we can actually change anything we need to on the back end. So if I'm working with a title company and they say, well, we could do this, but we need it to be a local LLC, needs to be single member, and needs to be the individual who's buying the property as that single member. Great, we can set up your LLC with you as a single member. Once you've closed on the property and everything, you can then move that ownership interest from that local LLC over to that Wyoming holding company, if it's a rental property, things like that. So I guess overall, what I'm saying is when you go into places that are trying to give you hard and fast rules, try to be flexible because if you sort of burn that bridge and make them unbending, it's going to be really hard for everybody involved to try to get the whole thing to work. And you won't force it to work. Eventually, they'll just tell you no. So ultimately, be polite, be flexible. And like I said, as a best practice or in a perfect world, you're able to know what they want going in, and we can form something for you that sort of ticks those boxes and makes your life a lot easier. So just as like I said, it's sort of the same rules as dealing with a bank. When you go into a bank, you deal with the business banker. They'll tell you what they need to see. You let them see what they want to see. Or same thing with a lender. Let them draw the box. You fit inside of it, and that's usually the least painful route to go. Title companies are the same way. So ultimately, at the end of the day, if for some reason you can't meet halfway or meet with an agreement, you always have the option to go use a different title company for the most part. I mean, if it's sort of your deal, um, so keep that in mind in your back pocket too. But some of the worst ones I've seen is where the client is trying to tell the title company what they have to do or what they should be doing, and then they put up the wall and they basically are just unwilling to work with you unless they make you jump through 1,000 hoops. So that keep that relationship friendly and personable, and it provides whoever's trying to help you with that more flexibility on finding you a solution to where you want to be and getting that title work done for you. As always, thank you everyone for joining me for this episode of Coffee with Carl. I hope there was some valuable advice there, some helpful advice for those of you, especially dealing with some of the more complicated title companies out there, or seemingly difficult ones. If you're a platinum client, you need some help, always feel free to reach out. Like I said, in a scenario where it would help, we can provide, if we need to, we can provide an opinion letter. We can always hop on the phone with your title company if we need to. But like I said, the best practice is going in, basically figuring out what your title company wants, having them draw the corners of the box, and we can get you something that'll fit in it to at least get you through the closing as easily as possible. And then we can make changes on the back end if necessary. Till next time, thanks everyone. And like I said, remember to like and subscribe, and we will catch you on the next episode of Coffee with Carl. Thanks.